Buhari was shouting change, where is the change?
We've been banging our heads against this wall since 1960. It's not looking like it's about to crack.
Yeah.
True,
Maybe
true.
we should borrow a hammer.
The money that they get, that they are supposed to use to fix those roads, they first load them in their accounts.
We want change.
But you know, it's easier said than done. What do you agree? C is an idea where they feel their votes do not count because the business as usual has been going for several years.
Rice, buy oil,
And it
buy
cannot be
garri,
that case
then they
anymore.
share. When they share it, people will be satisfied, start shouting the name of the particular
Because the state
politician
of the road
and
was
voting.
very
But this
appalling.
time-
Hello, good day, welcome to another exciting episode of My First Vote. It is a show that basically involves civic engagement with the youths, particularly the voters that are just voting for the very first time. You know, we're talking about the demographic of people that have not voted before, probably people that for one reason or the other were unable to vote in the last election. So what we're looking forward to on this program is to intimate and sensitize those people with the things that are going on in politics and governance. And we have a lot of exciting segments on the program today. All right, when we return, we'll take a short break now. And when we return, we will commence with that segment. Very interesting, and I do implore our viewers to stick around. All right, welcome back. You are still tuned into the program, My First Vote, where we'll be discussing issues on politics and governance that affect a particular demographic, the first-time voters. And of course, people who have not had the opportunity to vote before for one reason or the other. And I have two exquisite personalities with me in the studio, people who are very opinionated on these issues. I have with me Olamide Yusuf and Ugo Iwochukwu. It's nice to have you in the studio, Olamide.
Yes.
And nice to have you in the studio, Ugo.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I must ask, are you going to vote in the next election?
Definitely.
Okay, I'll leave you with your talks. Ugo, are you also going to vote?
Based on the realities on ground, I'm a bit undecided, to be honest.
Wow, so you people have differentiating opinions on that regard. So tell us, Olamide, why would you vote? Why do you think it is important?
Okay, well, first of all, it's the first time I'm going to vote.
Okay.
And then apart from that, I feel like if everybody keeps saying that we're not going to vote because of the realities, fine, there are a lot of issues concerning politicians.
You know, a lot to be an understatement.
Exactly. But then, if we all have the same attitude, how is the country even going to move forward?
Okay, but
If we, the
do
electorate,
you
back
agree with
down.
what she's saying, Ugo?
No,
is she making valid points?
She is making valid points in the
Okay.
sense that it's important for us as people,
So why then
to
don't you
come
feel
out.
like you should vote?
Because
why don't you want to vote?
from where I stand, there are a lot of things at play.
Okay.
For example, the voting, how do I put it now? We've been seeing a certain level of voter apathy.
Okay.
We saw it in 2015, we saw it before that. So we do have that problem of voter apathy. So I'm not just the one who is undecided. I'm speaking for millions of Nigerians when I say I'm
So
undecided.
you feel like it is too much stress for you to get yourself involved in the political process, or it doesn't count if you do?
Personally, that's not where I come from, but there are people who would say that it is too much stress. Much stress, rather. My own point of view.
And you understand where they're coming from in that
I
regard?
do understand where they're coming from because some of us live in relatively safe neighborhoods, and some people don't. So coming out to vote is actually coming out to risk your lives, and sometimes it's difficult for us to relate with that.
Can you elaborate on that? You know, why do you feel it is an important?
I think one of the biggest questions that we are yet to answer as a country is, Nigeria, what's your life? We have not been able to answer that question. And that question applies here today is because in the sense that some people live in very dangerous environments. You go as a Christian up in some places in the north and it's very dangerous on a normal day. Not to talk of an election period where the polity is hot, the temperature, so to speak, is very hot. Where coming out to vote is not just coming out to take a decision for your country, it's coming out to risk your life.
So you're saying that you do not feel, based on the realities on ground, you know, that it is quite important or it is worth someone taking that risk with their lives to be involved in the political system
what I'm
or
saying
what have you?
is we should consider that these are the realities that some people live in.
Yeah.
And they honestly cannot. I mean, you're a father of 3-4 kids, and you want to go and vote. or you're the first son in the family.
Well,
and the father
what
is
point?
dead.
What point
You
do
have
you
a
make
point,
to counter
actually.
him in that
You see,
regard?
that's the thing. Is
Do you not
speaking
feel
for-
like you should not vote based on all
No, I
those?
do
You
not
know,
feel like. You see, that's the question.
what of the
if.
people that are in those extremely dangerous environments where voting is basically them saying they are putting their lives on the line?
Well,
You know, for
concerning that, really, I would not advise anybody to vote in that kind of situation, because I mean, even the people that were going
So are
out
you
to
not
vote,
saying that?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that I wouldn't vote, because I, for instance, I live in a
But that's the present reality on ground nowadays.
I know that. I live
you
in
know.
a secured environment. I will go out to vote. But then concerning other people that don't live in secured environments, I
But you
would
know,
not
the thing
advise
is,
them.
even
I'm not
people
trying
that do live
there
in
are
secure
issues.
environments,
Insecure-
they still do not come out to vote. They don't feel it's what they are stressed.
Insecure
Well,
You know,
now
aside
that's
security.
a big problem, because if you
Inse-
live in, the only reason I feel like anybody should not come out to vote is because truly in some places they're killing people because they're not voting.
No,
for
but they
their-
have valid
their-
points.
Let me give
Wouldn't
you
you
an
agree,
example.
Ugo?
Insecure environment is just one of the multiplicity of reasons why people don't come out to vote.
course.
True.
I'll give you another example. 2015, Southeast Nigeria, voter apathy, terrible. 2011, Southeast Nigeria, voter apathy was slightly better than 2015, but it was terrible. And why is that? Because in such regions, and not just Southeastern Nigeria, but that's been like the worst case of political apathy we've seen in Nigeria over the last few years. In such regions, there is an absence of the federal government.
So they do not feel that
I
their
give
vote
an
counts
example
in
now.
any
I give
way
an example
whatsoever.
now. Southeastern Nigerians did not vote, and those that came out to vote voted for the People's Democratic Party. Since the current president has stepped into office, his plane, Nigerian Air Force One, has not crossed over Southeastern Nigeria airspace.
So there's
They
a
do
disconnect
not
between the
feel-
federal
Now,
level
when
and
we
the
No, they
going
do
southeast.
not
to
feel.
this-
They do not feel the presence of a government. So why am I voting when there's no government?
When do you know
Okay,
it
so
will not
if
count?
everybody says that, oh, because there's no presence of a government, eventually what we going
No,
to?
I'm not saying what
No,
they're
of course,
saying
it is.
right.
I
I'm not saying what they're
understand
saying
the
is
point
right.
you're
I'm
making.
saying these are the
They
things
They
we need
feel
to
like
consider.
it is a case of if they go and vote, when they know it will not count. So what's the point?
And not
You know,
just it
what's
not
the
being
point of
counted.
them
Not sometimes
risking
it
themselves?
does count, but you put people in office,
And they do not feel those people
They do
will
not-
represent their interests.
and this is an issue.
So why then should they still go ahead and vote in that kind of
Because
regard?
it is one thing as the masses, as the electorates of this country, of the citizens of the country. That's one thing we have as a right. We have to do it. If we don't do it, I mean, I don't think that things can.
And especially for first-time voters, you know, there are a lot of people that growing up, they've had that experience of probably they've been involved in political participation. A lot of other people have not been involved. You know, that kind of ideology where during elections, their parents tell them, hide your head and all that. So they do not even have any intention of getting their voters card, you know, and all of that. So why do you feel that they must go out of their way to ensure that they are involved in that political process? Don't you think it is important? And why? And why do you disagree with that front? So I'll take it from you.
Well, the thing is that, like I've been saying, if we do not go out and vote, we will keep on complaining about bad. Fine, we know that these
Things will
politicians-
never change.
Things will never change.
course,
It will
of
be at a
course.
standstill. So no matter what, we have to keep going. No matter what,
Ugo, do you
don't
see
back down.
points to
We
that?
won't
She's
back
saying
out.
we'll be revolving in
To some
circles.
degree,
Back
to
out.
some degree, I do agree. But then again, in other ways, I disagree. And this is why effective democracies are not run from the election polls. They do not operate from election polls. It's one mistake we keep making in this country, where every 4 years we vote and the next 4 years we come back. But the real democracy happens in between the 4 years. Nigerians do not hold leadership accountable.
But
It's
the
not
first,
just
would
enough
you
to
not
vote.
agree
It's
that
not
the
just
first
that's the
step,
problem.
the first step, would you not
No, the
agree that
first
the
step
first
is not
step
even
is
voting.
voting?
The first step is not voting.
And more increased
The
political
first step is not
participation?
voting. I disagree that the first step is voting, and I'll tell you why. Because, for example, now we're talking of a generation of people who did not vote in the last election because they went over the age limit. So are you telling me that now they've crossed the age limit, they should be inactive in the political space because they have not yet voted?
But you know, a case of people that avoid voting, more often than not, you realize that they're not even involved in the entire political participation process all the same. Because they just feel that there's nothing they can really do, you know, and all that. Wouldn't you agree? Have you seen a case of people where they decide they're not going to vote, but they go out of their way to be involved in political participation, to hold their constituency representatives accountable? We're giving an instance in the last segment of eroding Abuleba, and it seems that nobody is holding the people representing that constituency accountable. So do you think someone that avoids voting can equally have a say in that political
it's entirely
participation
possible.
process?
Yes, it's very possible actually. It's
Okay.
very possible.
Okay.
You know the thing is that what like we like to maybe suffer and smile, and that's not our fault really. It's because
Would
we
you
were
agree with
born,
that, Ugo? I
well, we've
could see
been
you were
born
smiling there.
into this suffering.
When
So
she
like
said
we
that.
see it as a normal thing. Do you
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
So like it just keeps going on and on. And yes, like the question you asked, you can be very very involved with your community even without voting. This you reach out to people, you reach out to different people, you
But
go
if
to
you-
their,
if you
their
look at it,
constituency.
if
But
you
the
look
thing is
at
that
it-
are they even always in their constituency offices? They don't never come because
Yeah.
that's how much they don't care.
There's a
So
disconnect
there's a
between the
disconnect
immediate
between
constituency
the politicians
and the
the
representation
people.
And
at the
and
federal
Exactly.
level. You know, you were given an idea of how there has been a generational pattern
Yeah.
also. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I was trying to say that it's very discouraging when you look at that. This generation, that generation, next generation has voted, and there hasn't been much difference. It's very discouraging to a younger person. Why? What else? What can I do now that has not been done before? And it's important we address these questions if we need to. move
Have you
forward.
had that
Okay,
personal
okay.
experience of the generational?
Is there any Nigerian that hasn't?
Okay, fine. I have. Everybody has. Trust me. But
Yeah.
then the generation stops voting. I stop voting. My generation, the coming generation stops voting. So where are we going to?
No.
What is
That's not. Yes, that is true, and
Yeah.
that's why it's also important for us to start preaching the sermon to a new generation of Nigerians. Now, you don't have to wait till you get to the polls to make a difference. Let me give you an example. Since 1999 to date, has any member of the National Assembly been recalled? No.
Of course.
No member of the House of Representatives has been recalled. Never.
It's as if
And have they been that
accountability is
great? No.
absent
Yeah, it's gone.
And we have
the
these
country,
constitutional
you know.
powers to do this. It's not easy, but we can do this.
And it's very discouraging too. You know, you even see a case of where they feel, you know, that disconnect between the people that represent the masses
Yes.
Yeah.
and the masses themselves.
Yes, it's something you see
know,
in Southeast Nigeria.
Yeah, of course. Like
It's-
you
yeah.
were mentioning earlier on, you know, that disconnect is really appalling, and it's something that discourages people from coming out to spend their efforts, risk their lives to vote. So why would you feel that they should still take that step, especially for the first-time voters and the people that before now have not been actively participating in politics? Why should they now take that step and risk a lot for that
See the
regard?
thing, I will just be going back and forth. The point basically with what you just asked is the fact that we can't stop. We have to keep going. Do you know what they call perseverance? We have to keep moving on. We want change.
But you know, it's easier said than done. Wouldn't you agree with that?
This is why we have to keep going on. Change is
Why
not
don't you
easy.
agree?
Okay, Buhari was shouting change. Where is the change? There's no change. It's a continuous process. We can't just there shouldn't be any
Do you have any
break
input
or
on that?
discontinuity.
We
'Cause
do
I can
have
see
to
your
keep,
mouths
we
are
do
moving.
have to keep going on.
Yes.
But I think we've gotten to the point where we need to look ourselves. We've been banging our heads against this wall since 1960. It's not looking like it's about to crack.
Yeah.
True,
Maybe
true.
we should borrow a hammer. I think we've gotten to that point. We need to, you guys who get hammer, please let's hit it. So I
Yeah,
think
of
we
course.
need to reconsider how we run this experiment or run this country that we call our
Because it
own.
seems like
And
we're
by
going
the
in
way,
circles.
and by the
wouldn't
way,
you
you know
agree?
how
Dizzy,
you know
we
how
are dizzy.
by the way, you know how even we could also take steps back. So there's something called social responsibility.
Yes.
We can't actually just be waiting. We want change.
But the
right?
question I feel he was
politicians are not-
asking
they're
is
not-
to what end? You know, if, as you mentioned earlier, generations before you, during your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your parents, you know, it has been the same pattern. So what will now make the younger generation, the first-time voters, people that have not been actively participating in politics, to now go out of their way in the hope,
To vote.
a hope that has been there
Do
since.
you know what they say about the children and the youths? We're the future.
And that is why it is very important that first-time voters must mobilize to ensure that their voices are heard. It cannot be business as usual. Things must change in that regard. And we'll take a short break, and when we return, we will be inviting other distinguished personalities, two young people who also will be giving us their opinions on politics and governance. This is going to be an interesting segment, and I implore our viewers to stick around.